We talk a lot about financial planning like it's this one size fits all, set it and forget it kind of thing. But the truth is, life moves in seasons, and your money has to move with it. Some seasons are for stacking cash and crushing goals, others, they're about staying afloat and keeping your peace. Today, we're diving into the natural ebbs and flows of your financial life. We're talking about how to identify the season you're in and how to adjust your mindset and money moves and why it's okay if things look different now than they did a year ago or will a year from now. Let's get into it.
Sugar Daddy Podcast, yo. Learn how to make them pockets grow. Financial freedom's where we go. Smart investments, money flow.
Hey, babe, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about the seasons of our money.
Yes, I think sometimes people think from a planning standpoint that it's more of a static thing where you put a financial plan in place and now you have your plan,
hmm
when the way that you really need to think about it is the continuous act of planning
The
because
verb.
you're always going through different seasons of life. And as you go through the different seasons of life, you're going to need different things. You're going to have different goals. You're going to have different mindsets that are going on. You have different responsibilities that are, taking up your time. So you're
hmm
going to have to be able to be flexible in identifying the different seasons that you're in and what those different needs are going to be in each season.
Yeah, I think it's an important conversation. We've said it in a couple of other episodes, but planning, it's a verb. It's an
Yes.
action. It's not something that you do once. It's something that you're actively doing. And I think what's really unique, and we've talked about this as well, is you are a planner that is in the season of life that a lot of your clients are in and or are coming into. So thinking about your clients that maybe are a little bit younger and now they've bought the house and now they're adding the kid, now they're adding kid number 2. It's like, okay, we've done that so we can help you navigate that. And I
And I've
say
done, and I've
I
done it,
say we and I'm not actually doing it, but
and I've done it
you
recently.
and you've done it recently. Whereas, does it make sense to have an advisor who's maybe advising your parents who did it and their kids are now our age? Like, we are dealing with very different times than our parents, and we have to make money moves in different ways. And so I think it's really important to acknowledge that the season you were in when you were single is a very different season than when you're in a partnership and when you get married, which is a very different season than when you add kid number 1, kid number 2, whatever that might look like. And then going into, okay, now we're back to being empty nesters. Now we're planning for retirement. Those are all seasons that are going to look different and our money's going to look different.
Yeah, and there are some, seasons that are familiar for each of us as far as the different ones that you go through in your life. And it's not just necessarily that you go through one and you never go back to that one because you could be jumping around. But there are, maybe four common seasons that most people can kind of relate to. One of them being the building season. This is going to be those people that are early in their careers. Maybe you might be even be starting over or you're recovering from a setback. But at this time period, in this season, you're going to be focused on income growth, debt reduction, learning, things of that nature. That's going to be that building season.
I would even say if you maybe are newly divorced,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like now you're starting from a partnership
Recovering from a
into.
setback.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I wanted to also make sure
Oh,
that people
yes.
understand, like, it's not, hey, I'm no longer 24, I'm not in my building season. Like, no, there are
Oh,
different
yeah. And like I said,
building
these
seasons.
the seasons that we're about to go over are not, sequential in order, and that's
hmm
just how it goes. Like you might be jumping around at different periods of them.
Yeah.
There's just four identifying seasons that you could be in your life.
I'm even thinking of when we become empty nesters, which I know feels like a long time away, but also we know how fast time goes, so it's not that far away, but that will be a season where we will have to build our relationship over because our life is going to look very different again, right? Like our schedule right now is so much to do with the kids and what they need and their activities and all their stuff. Once we're empty nesters, we're going to be building our life and what that looks like kind of anew.
Well, I mean, we'll get into maybe how that I feel a little different about what that period would look like.
Okay.
But you also have, the stability season. This is once, you got a little bit more years under your belt, your income is maybe a little bit more steady. Your goals that you have set are kind of already in motion. You're working towards accomplishing them. And in this season, you're focused on building systems and planning for the future as far as, more from a what's the word I'm looking for? From a more of a clarity standpoint. Because
Mhm.
when you're in that early building season, you're just trying to get by sometimes and start to get some momentum going, and
Sure.
you don't really exactly know exactly what you want that goal to be. Whereas once you've moved into stability season, you have a better idea of the goals you're looking to accomplish. So you're looking at putting in more specific plans in place to reach those goals.
Okay. Would you say we are in the stability season?
I would say, well, some of them overlap. I would say we're in the stability season. We have some aspects of stability season,
Mhm.
but then I would also say that, we have some aspects of the next season, stretch
Okay.
season, where this is, major life transitions,
I
kid,
feel stretched all the time, so this sounds more accurate.
kids, home buying, caregiving, maybe even job changes. And
Mhm.
with all these things occurring, sometimes, money might feel tight or an emotional strain could be high.
Mhm.
And I would say that we have some aspects of stability season that we're in,
Sure.
but we also are definitely experience some aspects of the stretch season, especially with kids and the transitions that even though our kids are, 6 and almost 8, it's different each year as far as what
Yeah.
their needs are and what that emotional need is on them and what that emotional strain could be on us to try to
Mhm.
give them all these things and help them. So I would say we have both of those.
Okay, I agree with that.
But then you have also you have, number 4 could be the harvest season.
I'm ready for that season.
And
I'm
that's
ready to
where,
reap
yeah,
what we've sowed, damn it.
just like it sounds like you're enjoying this is the season where you're enjoying the fruits of your labor. You've
The
done all
fruits
this
of the sacrifices.
you've done all this long-term planning, you've done all this saving, investing, and now it's time to finally enjoy those things. But the shift here is now like maybe you're prioritizing your time as far as now you have more time,
Mhm.
determining where you want to spend this time, since you have this freedom. What is the highest value for you to do that? So
Yeah.
that's why I was saying that, like, I feel like when you were talking about the retirement standpoint from building, I still think it might still be you guys could have some aspects of building from
Yeah, a
a
little
relationship
overlap.
standpoint,
Mhm.
but from a
Mhm.
financial standpoint, hopefully you've done the planning correctly and you're in this harvest phase.
Yeah. Well, I could see how your some of the seasons overlap
Yeah.
or you move from one to another or forwards or backwards. So, no, that makes sense. I think too one thing that we're really big on is, and maybe it's not this harvest season, but there's some people who only delay their gratification.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, when I retire. And it's like, you don't know what that's gonna look like. You don't know what your mind is gonna be like. You don't know what your body's gonna be capable of. So we are very much, save, invest, plan for the future, but also live life now.
Oh yeah.
Like enjoy life.
Like I
Take the
said,
trip, book the
these
vacation.
categories aren't rigid. So
Right.
us breaking it down to 4 doesn't mean that there's not 6 or 7. So like
Right,
you can
right.
have some more micro categories, but this is just to give you an idea of some of the ideas and the different, characteristics of each season that you could recognize
Mhm.
and that could help you determine is what you need to be focused on in those given seasons.
Okay. So what should people be focused on in the building season?
Well, once again, this is one of the early on seasons, and it's more focused on like, learning, earning. So, earning as much money as possible, but then also starting to lay that foundation from a financial literacy standpoint to begin with, but
Mhm.
then also from a financial habits. Start to lay that foundation that's going to help you later on as you progress through life and through your career.
Yeah. I mean, if we knew then what we know now, we would potentially already be in our harvest.
With that being said, like it's also, like in that building season, don't rush because it is a long game. Because obviously there's things that you can do that can help, quote unquote speed things up. But
Sure.
ultimately, most of the things that you're going to do in your life is not going to bring you riches tomorrow.
Right.
So it is a long-term game. So
But
like
like you said, building the habits.
yes. So
Yeah.
this is where this is where you're focused on, budgeting discipline as far as making sure that you're not spending more
Mhm.
than what you're bringing in. This is working on thing that we also talk about building your credit, getting a
Building your
good credit
credit.
score so that can
Mhm.
help you, get buy the things that you are going to need later on in life.
With better, more favorable terms.
Yes. Starting your emergency fund. A lot of the
Mm, yeah.
basic foundational aspects of financial planning this is the season where you're going to try to start putting those in place.
Yeah, if you are early in career, but you have access to a 401k match, getting that 401k match because
100%.
if you do that for, let's say what, you're 22, 23 when you graduate college and you do that for 7 years and now you hit 30 and you've been contributing, that is going to make a difference. That is going to
Look very different.
catapult you into a very different league by the time you're 35, 40,
Man,
45.
I think most people our
Absolutely.
age, that's the number one thing that they would go back. If they can go back and tell
Mhm.
their younger self something is save more, invest more because of compound interest.
Yeah. And I think also if we're real with ourselves, you didn't buy anything in your 20s for the most part that you remember or that had great value to you now. Like you didn't.
Yes.
I didn't. Now experiences,
You bought a home.
sure.
You bought your first
I
home in your
I wasn't
20s.
putting my home in that category,
I was trying
obviously.
to give you some kudos.
No, I'm talking about the other
Yes.
things,
I get
that
you.
yeah. So I think, making those choices, differentiating between needs versus wants,
Yes.
those are those foundational building blocks that will make a difference. And you will have an earlier harvest in your 30s and 40s than if you don't start,
Yes.
So think about that.
Yes.
Compound interest, the eighth wonder of the world.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What do we need to know in our stretch season?
You skipped the stability season.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, so building to stability. So we are getting to stability.
Yeah, so at this phase, now you're really focused on consistency and automation, automating anything that you can.
Mm-hmm.
So since remember in this one you have a little bit more steady income, automate that makes automation a lot easier. So automating your investing, automating your savings, automating,
Your bill
obviously,
pay.
of course,
Yeah.
but then you're also starting to add in some other aspects of your finances that maybe you weren't thinking about during the building phase.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be, life insurance, disability insurance, those insurance reviews, some of the things that you may not be thinking about earlier on, but now you're getting a little bit older and you're also, you're might be, in a few years going into that stretch season. So these are the things you want to put in place during the stability season. Now, you also want to focus on, for example, locking in those good habits.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I was just stating, once you're able to lock in the good habits and at the stability stage, if you're able to reduce mental overload by not having to make all these decisions actively every month
Mm-hmm.
because you already have the automation set up, that's going to help you as you move into the stretch season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, ideally, we would like to have all these things in place, but let's be honest, most of us don't. So, for example, I have plenty of clients where, we are in the stretch season with them because they just had their first kid. And unfortunately, we didn't quite get everything in place that we want to get in place when it comes to the stability and building aspect. Whereas now you're in the stretch season and we're also having to add certain aspects of those other seasons to get them kind of caught up. And that's the reality of it for a lot of people. But if you can ideally recognize what season you're in while you're going
Mm-hmm.
through it and focus on the needs of that season and taking care of that as you move to the next one, it's just going to make it that much easier.
Well, and you have, I would say most of your clients are our age, right? Like that 35 to 44, give or take,
And I'm also
obviously.
saying, like, we didn't have everything in place that we would have liked to had going through each one of these seasons. Just
Right,
being
right.
real. Like, this isn't me looking at everybody else and saying they didn't do this. We didn't do certain things that I wish I could go back in time and have done.
But I was going to say, you have started bringing on younger clients
Yes.
who maybe are coming to you in the building season even,
Yes.
because you've had some people where you're like, whoa, they're really young. I wonder, what they want me to help them with, which is great. And now you've,
And it's not even a matter of like, okay, so like, I know what I can help them with.
of
I
course,
always just like, because most of the times, I would say most people are coming to me, mid 30s.
sure.
But like,
So when you get a 26-year
yeah,
old, you're like,
when I get
whoa,
someone in their mid or late 20s, I'm like, they're really ahead of the curve. Sometimes I wonder, is there something so dramatic that it's kind of like I'm,
yeah. But I think,
might be something crazy, but
there's social media, there's Reddit threads, like people are hearing more and more, again, value of like, hey, if I work with somebody early, I
oh,
can get these things in
and
place.
I love it when people that age come to me and they're doing, they're starting to do some of the right things. They're really thinking about the things that
Mhm.
they need to do, and they're doing it at such a young age. And first thing I always say to them is, one, kudos to even reaching out to have that conversation, because I know that can be an intimidating conversation for anyone, regardless of what age they are,
Yeah.
let alone someone that young. To reach out to have the conversation with me, and then also be willing to take those actions. Like, that's amazing, because I didn't have that at
Yeah.
26 years old.
Well, but what triggered that thought for me was when you said, maybe in the stability season, you didn't get everything done that you wanted to. Well, like that's dependent on how people come to you,
Correct.
right? So
Correct.
maybe you're wanting to focus on the stretch season, but you have to focus on the stability portion because maybe they have only been with you for a few months or,
Yeah.
like so obviously the earlier you can start that process, the better because then you can help
100%.
hold people's hands through those transitions because you have clients where they came to you mid 20s, now they've bought a home, now they got married, now they're having kids. Like you're really holding their hand through all of those transitions, which is the support that ultimately you're trying to give to people, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So, okay, so stretch season.
Yeah, so the stretch season,
Sorry.
uh, this could sometimes be seen as like one of the harder seasons.
I feel like this is a hard season.
I
Oh
would
my
say,
gosh, work, kids, household. I mean, oh my
because
gosh.
honestly, what you're really focused on is surviving.
Yeah, we are
What-
not thriving, guys. Just to be very clear, we are surviving.
and then also anything that you can like simplify, you go ahead and do that. So
Mhm.
I often sometimes with, because we're in the stretch season, and I have clients that are
Stretched thin.
in the same season. And sometimes I will literally say to them, I'm like, do you want optimized or do you want simplified? Because
Ooh.
sometimes the optimization, takes a few more steps to get the most optimal outcome.
Oh, what do people choose?
A lot of people sometimes choose the simple one where like it
Yeah,
still has
because our brains are just
yeah,
so
it
overloaded.
still has a good outcome that
Positive
is
impact, yeah.
positive, that is suitable for the scenario.
Mhm.
It might not just be quote unquote the one that, for example, maybe yields the most money. Well, it's
Right.
like right now they're like, we understand what you're saying, but we can't process adding more things on our
Yeah,
plate to get to
totally.
this other goal. Whereas we can get to this goal over here and it's acceptable to us. We
Mhm.
understand that it's not going to bring in the most money, but it's
But it doesn't
significant.
require 5
Yes, it's
more
significantly
steps.
less steps.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta choose the one that, like, makes the most sense for where your head is right now,
Yeah,
like
and really
capacity
what it
planning.
is really you're having your becoming clearer on your priorities. And
Mm,
often in this one, especially with the stress season, we kind of really associate it with like having children, is that your children are one of your highest priorities. So you really are kind of focused on maximizing time with them because that's limited.
mhm.
And with doing that, you got to reduce the guilt that you may have because you're not quote unquote optimizing or taking care of some of the other things at this moment. Because sometimes it is going to be a give and take where, you know, the same 24 hours that you had as a married couple without kids is going to be the same 24 hours you have now, adding, for us, two little humans that we have to take care of as well. So
Yeah.
you can't necessarily always do all the things that you want to do. And sometimes you just have to realize that and let go of that guilt and just do the best that you can in
Yeah.
this phase.
Move forward even if it's, like, inch by inch instead of mile by mile.
And like the main arching one for this one is just get rid of the shame.
Mhm.
Because I have so many, like I said, I have a lot of my clients, I said, like kind of mirror where I am from an age standpoint. And so we're in this together. And the one thing I always say to them is they're like, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. But I was like, hey, but you are doing this. You're doing this. You're doing that. But you also have all these other responsibilities in this season that you have to worry about.
Yeah.
And you can't compare yourself to maybe someone else who doesn't have kids.
Mhm.
You can't do
Or
that.
got a massive inheritance or is a trust fund baby or sold their house for, 50% more than it was worth because
Yeah.
they sold it during the boom,
And the
like
thing is, here during the stretch season, hopefully you've been doing the things, correctly within the building season and also stability season. So
mhm.
now you have a good basis to lean back on. So, for example, like we've talked about this before, where people do a great job of building up that emergency fund. And then a proper emergency happens that they should use the
And they
emergency
don't wanna
fund,
use the
and they don't
emergency
want to use the
fund.
emergency fund because of the guilt behind, oh, I should have been prepared for this. You
It's
were
like you literally
you
are
are prepared for it.
prepared.
That's what this is for.
Yeah, yeah. This is an emergency, use your emergency fund.
Yes.
I know people have such a blocker against that,
And the
it's
thing
so
is for me
interesting.
is I always explain to people, like, obviously, the idea is that we don't wanna have emergencies happen, like,
Oh, of
nobody
course.
wants that to
Yeah, yeah.
happen, but if you have the habits to build up that emergency
Mhm.
fund and an emergency happens and you use it, you still have those same habits to build it back up again,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Okay, let's talk about, the season we're all, like, fantasizing about because we're so
the
tired.
harvest season.
The harvest.
This is, like I said, this is basically just enjoying the fruits of your labor. This
Yeah.
is, you've gotten through all the other phases and now you just get to finally, live the life that you want based upon what you find value in, You're
Mhm,
not necessarily sacrificing certain things where now you can really just focus on, hopefully, in this scenario, you can really just focus on yourself. You and your
mhm.
partner can determine what it is that you guys actually want to spend your free time doing.
Yeah, slow down, give yourself permission to enjoy what you've been building all these
Yes.
years.
Now, with the caveat, you do have certain needs that come into this phase
Sure.
because, like I said, most of the time this phase is more associated with like becoming work optional slash retiring.
Mhm.
So you do have to do some proper income planning because
Yeah, yeah.
all the other years before that, all the other phases, you're in the accumulation phase. You're making money, putting it to work for yourself. Now you're in the decumulation phase. All that money that you've built up over time,
Mhm,
now you're using it to live off because hopefully in this, this phase, you're not necessarily working. So you do have to be careful in regards to having proper planning when that comes into
mhm,
place. But then that's also talking about like, hey, what do I want to do with my money outside of just living off of it? If you're someone that's been really heavy into giving to charities,
mhm.
you might want to go ahead and, obviously do some charitable giving and have that properly set up so that's maximized. Also, if you have kids, grandkids, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind there? I know one of the things that my mom is really big on is that my mom has done really well for herself financially, and she wants to leave a legacy where like she has done a lot of the legwork that helps everybody else generation wise after her when it comes to building upon the work and the finances that she's provided.
But I do think she's also missing the component of living in
Ah,
the now.
yes, yes, I would say
All
that.
she's focused on is like, when I'm
Yes.
gone, and there's a lot of parts where she's not living in the present, and she's not I don't think she's living to the fullest, but
That's part of the best part of the mindset of being in the harvest season is that some of the habits that you've put in place that have helped you get there, you do have to switch them because a lot of times you have people. The hardest part thing is people that are excellent savers become very hard to turn into spenders.
yes, no, she will never.
So,
Unless she goes to therapy,
so a
which
lot of
she's
the
not going
great
to.
habits that have happened to get you to where you're at,
Mhm.
you have to realize that you've done the work, you've gotten to the top of the mountain. Now you can enjoy the view.
I think our generation is going to be better because I think we're already changing our mindset of, "I'm not working till
Well,
65."
we're also thinking about it. I think our parents' generation and definitely ones before that never actually sat down and thought about what do I want my retirement to
No,
look like?
never.
Like what am I going to do? Like a lot of times that
Mm-mm.
conversation wasn't had, but it wasn't being had by anybody.
Which is why so many of them actually go back to work, right? You see the retirees working in the garden department at the Lowe's and the Home Depot because they're like, "Oh, I needed to get out of the house.
I
I needed a
mean,
hobby."
I mean, I'm gonna use an extreme example. Like I don't know Warren Buffett, but Warren Buffett just finally retired. He's
Yeah.
finally stepping away. Like he's in his 90s. Like I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, you can find some joy and stuff in like working, and some aspects people say it keeps them young, but like
I'd be willing to
to
work
be working
in
the way that
my
he
90s
did,
from my
I would
yacht,
not be
from my mega
from the
yacht.
way that, from the way that he was working, the constant day to
Yeah.
day. Probably, I don't want that at
No,
90.
no, no.
Not if
But
I
I
had
think
his money.
but that's what I'm saying, like, I think we are very much thinking about, like, "Ooh, when we retire, like,
Yes.
what is that Tuesday at 9 gonna look like? What do we wanna be doing?" Whereas our parents, and like you said, the generation before them, absolutely were not doing it, and now they're like, "Oh, I'm retired, what do I do?"
Oh, 100%.
You know? And then they're bored, and they end up playing pickleball for 6 hours a day. Like,
As long as
that's
leave my mom alone.
listen, that's not what I wanna be doing. So, I think there's also we need to be finding the balance of stacking, building the habits, automating all those things, but also living and then enjoying the fruits,
Yes.
because there's no point. To me, my values do not align with just hoarding cash until I die so that somebody else can have it.
Well, the biggest thing here is like giving yourself permission to actually enjoy what you've built. And
Yes.
I think that's, like you said, that's the part that my mom's having a hard time switching her mindset
Yeah.
to is
So,
enjoying what she's built.
yeah, I mean, we've had a financial therapist on, and I think there are people absolutely like your mom who could benefit from unpacking. And we know other people's parents
Oh, yeah.
too.
This is a common theme
This
amongst that
is
generation.
yes, this is very common of
People who have done well for
who've
themselves.
who either can't stop working because they don't know how, or they don't know how to just be. Like they don't even know what would not working look like. They
Mhm.
have no concept. They haven't thought about it. That's all I think about. Listen, let me be very clear. All I think about is not working. And I've said it. I've got 10 more years left in me.
Yeah.
And then I'm what, hanging up the key, close, whatever the analogy is. I don't know. But you got me for a decade. And then I'm out.
Yeah, and the thing is too is, like, as you're moving through these different seasons, one thing we always say is, like, you have to take away some of the shame involved in some of the decisions that you have to make.
Mhm.
So, like, one example I could think of is that when you're moving from the stability to the stretch season,
Mhm.
in this scenario, I'm gonna use, you're having your first kid.
Mhm.
That's gonna put a big change to your finances
Yeah,
as far
kids are freaking expensive.
yes, it's gonna make a lot of changes. So, like, for example, like someone who maybe had consistently been maxing out their 401k plan leading up
Mhm.
to that, and now they have a child. I'm like, hey, maybe we don't want to go ahead and do that this year because we need some time to adjust to the new expenses that are going to come with a kid.
Mhm.
And so, pulling back on maybe some how much you're actually contributing to these investment accounts and building a more up an emergency fund or building more up just in a separate fund that's dedicated to all the various expenses you're going to have over the course of your life moving forward with the kid.
Yeah.
And some people are like, oh my gosh, like their whole identity was like maxing out the 401k plan.
Right.
And now they're not doing that and they feel like they're completely.
And listen, if that's your identity, power to you, but
But I've had these conversations where
I
people feel
know.
like they're not doing the right thing. And I'm like, you have to focus on the different season that you're in, the different needs.
Yeah.
Where like you've done a lot of the groundwork. So you pulling back on your 401k plan now,
Mhm.
you're still significantly leaps and bounds upon ahead of most people your own age because you were doing the right things leading up to this.
Yeah.
And now this is just a shift for this season.
Mhm.
And like I said, once again, a lot of the changes that
Temporary.
a lot of the changes that
Little
happen
shift.
each season aren't permanent per se.
Yeah.
But just for this season, and as you transition to a different season or just a different area within that season, as
Mhm.
far as from a comfort level, then we can make other changes.
Yeah. Well, and I will say you were right. So it's on record. Here you go. Brandon was right because, I was so excited about getting out of the daycare season. And I'll tell you, that money just gets absorbed in all the other places. We've got basketball, we've got soccer, we've got sewing, we've got swim lessons. Whew.
I like people like with the daycare, such one single large
It's
expense.
so big.
But then what ends up happening once you get out, it just gets dispersed into multiple other
Yeah,
smaller expenses.
it's so
Because
true. And I mean, not saying that we're spending $1,500 on the kids' expenses, but it's all the other things, that
it's
just, it adds up.
and the thing is too is that like you also got to think kids only get more expensive as they get older.
Mm.
Kids do not get less expensive.
Which is crazy because, like, in my head, I'm like, ooh, daycare and all the gear and all the things. And it's like,
Now, if your kid sits at
oh,
home, if they go to public school and they sit at home and do nothing, and you like, yeah, and you don't take vacations,
then
yeah,
maybe,
maybe your
yeah,
kids are less
yeah.
expensive. But then I also would venture to say that you're not living a life that I want to live anyways.
Mm,
But for most people, kids get more expensive
yeah.
as they get older.
Yes.
So
Yeah. They have been, and I love seeing them in their activities. So obviously, no regrets, but whew, these kids are expensive. So,
yeah, so with everything that we've gone over, the biggest thing is that you do want to take steps on how to navigate through, the current season you're in with confidence.
mm-hmm.
So, step one, being able to identify which season you're in right now.
Yep.
That's going to be the first and most important step because if you don't, you can't pause and recognize what season you're in. You're going to have a hard time recognizing what your actual needs are and what you should be focusing on right now.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think identifying, just like in so many of our episodes, right? Like, know who you are as a person is kind of, the theme, but also like know what season you're in and know that it's a season. I mean,
Hmm.
if your kid is waking up every hour in the middle of the night, like it's a season. If your kid is teething, it's a season, like all of those things.
And with that example, that's, step number two. Be honest about what you need in the current season you're in.
Mm,
Not what you think is smart, but what you actually need. So, for example, in the stretch season where time is limited because you're being stretched all different ways, hey, maybe, putting aside funds to go ahead and have those groceries delivered instead of you going and picking them up yourself
Yeah,
is what you need. From a financial standpoint, is it smart? You can debate that.
right.
As far as it's extra money that some people may say it's wasted because you could do it yourself. Whereas maybe what you need is someone else to do the shopping for you to free up some time for you to do something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I mean, we talk about value versus price. Where can you find the value? Where can you free up time? I mean, I know I found a lot of value in doing like a meal delivery. I found that the local cafe. They're doing catering. I actually need to get back onto their list because I realize like it's just a benefit to my life, to be able to pull something out of the fridge that's fresh and prepared for me. I don't want a HelloFresh box because then I still need to like cook things. No, I want ready to eat meals in the middle of my day that will make my life easier. Like,
Yeah.
is that the season that you're in?
Yeah.
So,
And, with that, step 3 is realign your plan.
mm,
So based upon the season you're in, based upon the needs that you actually have, you need to rework your budget for certain things. So, for example, like, with Jess, I'm using example, she gets so busy, which is, she's such a hard worker, which is a great thing. But then she gets so busy that she neglects herself in some aspects of like eating. So it's like instead of, having to worry about, oh, I have to go into the kitchen now, I'm tired, I have to go in the kitchen and actually make something, reworking the budget so that we have, money set aside to pay for, pre-cooked, prepackaged meals to be sent to the house is
mhm.
going to be beneficial to her because then she's actually going to eat like she should be doing throughout the course of the day.
He's like, "Why are you so hangry? What have you eaten?" Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. No, again, where can you find value?
Yeah.
Maybe you like cleaning the house, but now you have a newborn, and maybe hiring somebody to help you, on a biweekly basis will be beneficial. That's something that even when I was going through my layoff, we looked at, okay, what could we when we get to that point, what are we cutting, right? And it was like streaming and Spotify and Netflix, and we barely watch TV anyway. Like we had our whole list, and I was like, we still need our housekeeper because I don't want to clean this house, and also I can't think or process or be productive in a house that is not clean.
And once again, that's moving into step 4.
Hmm.
Communicate with your partner
Yeah.
as far as what are your specific financial needs right now and having a conversation about it, putting a plan in place so that it works within your budget. Because the biggest thing here is that, like, when you're going through each season, you might be taking from one area to put to another area.
Hmm.
And the idea behind that there is flexibility in that. And some people may look at that as like a failure, but the idea is that flexibility is not actually failure.
Yeah.
It's financial maturity. For example, even going back to the stretch season where you might not be investing as much because now you have more financial expenses with the baby.
Hmm.
So it's like I said, it's not financial failure. It's financial maturity and recognizing what your needs are currently as far as what you're going through and making those adjustments.
Yeah. Well, and I know we talk about kids a lot because we have kids, but that maybe for those of you who are listening who don't have children yet, have chosen not to have children, maybe that's caring for an elderly parent. Maybe it's caring for a grandparent. Maybe it's caring for a child in your family that is technically not yours, but you are taking on caregiving responsibilities. Like there are so many different ways where we are showing up to
I mean,
support our families, our
s-
friends, our
s- stretch
communities.
season can also be buying a home as far as like you're investing all this money in your 401k plan. Now you're
Absolutely.
shifting money from investing there to make down payment for a home.
Yeah. I mean,
And you might feel like, oh, I still should be investing more, but like,
maybe it doesn't make sense right now.
yes,
Yeah, right. And I think the key word is right now,
correct.
right? A season. Seasons change.
Yes.
They flow. They ebb and flow, right? And
Yeah.
so think
And
about
the financial, I mean, like, you're also, like I said, it's figuring out what is financially right for now,
mhm.
not forever.
And if you need help figuring out what season you're in, if you're in the building season and you're like, wow, I really want to do this right and I want somebody to hold my hand, or regardless of what season you're in, this is what Brandon does. He helps people navigate all these different seasons of life to make the most of what you have in that season. And if that's, hey, I'm coming to you in my building season, when I'm, mid 20s, like that's amazing. You're absolutely ahead of the game.
Way ahead. Yeah.
Which is great because then the other seasons ideally will be easier because you've made that really good foundation. But if you are trying to navigate, starting a new career, becoming an entrepreneur, building a family, building a house, like all of those things require various types of expertise. And if you need help, these are the things that Brandon does all the time. Of course, he looks at people's portfolios and their 401ks and helps you align all of your goals. But really, what he's doing is he's helping your money match your season.
Yeah.
And I think that that is really important. I mean, we don't talk specifics. I always want to make sure that people know, like, Brandon does not talk to me about specifics of anybody, but I do know because we talk about high level, like, oh, this person is moving, from this season to this season. And here are the things that we're thinking about. Here are the things that we're considering. Hey, I thought that I was going to be able to use my car to give to my teenager. Now I got in a car accident and I have to buy a new car. Okay, so now what does that look like for our teenager? Now I have to buy a new car. Now we're thinking about the car for the teenager. Now it's two cars, right? Like, those are the things that he's helping people navigate. It's the real world, real life stuff. Hey, my kid's teeth are jacked. We need to go to an orthodontist. How do we fit that into our budget?
And
Like, that's a conversation we're going to have
yeah, we're gonna have
probably
that
in the
in a
next
few
year.
years.
Like those are the real world things where you're trying to match your money to your seasons, and sometimes having somebody to hold your hand through those seasons and beyond makes all the difference. So, reach out to Brandon regardless of what season you're in, but think about the season that you're in, that you're going to, that you're planning for, and what does it look like? What can it look like? What do you want it to look like? And do you need support in that? And what would that support look like? And you can always reach out to Brandon. His link is always in the show notes to schedule some time to see if there's alignment there. And, we just want you to think about going through these seasons with grace. Give yourself grace. I think there's so much going on in the world. Everybody's stressed, everybody's tired. Most people are feeling like the dollar is not dollaring, right? Like, I mean, I told Aston the other day, I said, look, we left Food Lion, we had 3 bags and we spent $65. For what? Like, the dollars are not stretching, no matter what we're trying to do. And so I think we're all in our own seasons, but think about what season you're in and what you want the next season to look like and where you need support, and then get the support that you need. Make your money match your needs and have somebody hold your hand if that's what you need this season. So we hope we've given you something new to think about. Give yourself grace. It's a season, things come and go, and you are doing great. And if you want to do better than where you are right now and you want to see what that looks like, then click the link in the show notes to schedule some time with Brandon. And we will talk to you soon.
Sugar Daddy Podcast, yo. Learn how to make them pockets grow. Financial freedom's where we go. Smart investments, money.